I am easily pleased. When it comes to Christmas films, and particularly romantic Christmas films, I usually like them more than the average person. Usually I would rate it more highly than the average rating on, say, IMDb. I tried really hard to like A Match Made at Christmas. I just couldn't get into it, and that, I think, is because of one character. I have quite a problem with this character, and I don't know why. She just irritates me. The film has 6.4 out of 10 on IMDb, which is a very respectful rating, but I just couldn't get into it, and I really tried. This was released this year, 2021, directed by Annie Poling Sweat, written by Lizzy Poling and Annie Poling Sweat, and stars Micah Lynn Hanson as our protagonist Holly, and Tim Llewellyn as Chris. Now, I will say that the characters are very well acted. They are relatively well written. I have no issues with any of the casting. I just didn't like Holly at all. I could not get on board with her attitude, and I feel like she completely overreacted every time Chris even opened his mouth. So basically, she has this great aunt who is a pretty incredible person. She has this gift for predicting when people will fall in love. She's a matchmaker, basically. She looks at somebody else, and then just in her brain, she goes, yes, they belong together. She brings them together. A lot of those people have become married and have, been success stories. That was more difficult to say than I expected. Have been success stories for her. But Holly has a bad encounter with Chris, and then pretty soon after, her great aunt reveals that Holly and Chris are, by her powers, destined to be together, and Holly is not having any of this. Initially, Chris isn't very pleased with it either, but he at least begins to be quite civil. Holly, though, just never seems to let up. She never seems to be a nice person. Because of this one bad encounter she had with him, and the fact that she doesn't like the news that her great aunt gave her, she treats him really badly. Now, that's not throughout the entire film, but it does persist for quite a while, and I just got to the point where I didn't want her to be happy. And I know everybody deserves happiness, but karma needs to happen, and she did not treat Chris very fairly at all, even when Chris was, trying to be civil and reasonable and deal with the fact that people were looking at them and talking about them and trying to get them to get together. It's quite festive. It's not the most festive. It's not sugary sweet. It's not full of caroling and, overly zealous Christmas decorations or anything. But it's got a party vibe to it. It's not a terrible film. I just think Holly is a terrible character, and for me that made it quite difficult to get on board with. If you like Christmas films like I do, rom-coms, give it a go. You might like it. Maybe in a few years' time I will try watching it again. It's not as if I'm repulsed by the film. I'm just really irritated by Holly as a character. Very well acted. I mean, maybe very well written if that's what they were going for, but not somebody I can get on board with. I liked the concept of this. I didn't like the execution. It's not a film for me.